Start journaling. So many times when I read over my journal entries, my heart breaks for the young woman that I read about. Remember in the Bible when the prophet came to David after he had messed up with Bathsheba? David couldn't see that he was in the wrong. He had convinced himself that what he did was okay. But when the prophet came to him, instead of calling him out directly on what he had done, the prophet used a story of someone in the shoes of the person that he had wronged. He used a story about a shepherd and someone stealing the one sheep that shepherd had, even though that person had hundreds of sheep. When David heard the story, he was absolutely furious because his heart went out to that shepherd. So it was very easy for the prophet to let David know what his actual role was in that story. He was the villain. That is what journaling does. When you're in a toxic marriage, if you will just journal your feelings and then just give it a week, 2 weeks, a month, and go back and read your journal entry. If your feelings towards the young woman writing those journal entries is pain, heartache, if you feel sad for her, if you feel bad for her, if you feel pity for her, she is you. So many of my journal entries that I made when I was in my toxic marriage, I went back and read, and I felt so sorry for that woman. She deserved so much better, and she was putting up with stuff that just wasn't acceptable. It wasn't God's plan for her, and it wasn't required that she go through those things. Despite what she was being told, it was not her Christianly duty. I've told the story on this channel about the last straw for me. And in that situation, what happened was I was dealing with the same emotional and verbal abuse that I had been dealing with for years. But God changed my perspective. He allowed me to be able to see that abuse as an outsider, to see it through the lens of my daughter. And when I saw it, it was just like David. I was furious. I was so angry that that woman was putting up with this kind of dysfunction. Sometimes you've been in a toxic marriage for so long, it's become normal to you. You don't even realize the kinds of shenanigans that you're putting up with. But when you journal, it changes your perspective. Instead of you looking at it through your own eyes and being numb to what you see because you've been seeing the same thing for years, you're able to look at it through the eyes of an outsider. And I can promise you, if you feel anger, rage, pity, sadness, all of those things, you are in a toxic marriage and you need to get out. So what I would say to the younger version of me is start journaling and read those journals back with a fresh mind, a fresh set of eyes, and a fresh perspective. If you're not rooting for that young woman's marriage to be restored, and instead you are begging her to get out, then follow your own advice and get out. I am Amanda Nicole, and I am the CEO of Freedom Through Divorce. And so I create personal development courses and ebooks and all kinds of things that are geared towards women of God who have been through divorce, who are considering divorce, and who want to move towards freedom and finding their purpose in God. So what is Freedom Through Divorce? Well, Freedom Through Divorce is actually an online school full of personal development courses for women of God who have been through divorce or who are considering divorce. Anyone who has had to deal with divorce understands that it is extremely difficult. There are so many balls that you have to juggle. Will the children be okay? Is this something that God is going to be okay with? How does it affect my relationship with God? How am I going to learn how to be independent as a new single person or a new single mom? And there's so many things you have to consider. And as a Christian, there are just so few resources out there to help you understand how to navigate those things. So this is a school that really goes from considering divorce and understanding God's views on divorce when it's acceptable, when it's not acceptable, and understanding that there are so many more cases where God sees divorce as acceptable than what is normally taught out there. And it does it in a way that is not condescending, that's not judgmental, that is just giving you the information from God's heart. And most importantly, is from someone that's been through what you're going through. It's not just theology. It's not just, I read this or I heard this, but it's someone that's actually walked through it. So the personal development courses are meant to help you move and experience freedom through divorce, because there's so many people who they get a divorce, but they don't thrive afterwards. They stay stuck. They stay bitter. They stay telling anyone that'll listen how terrible their ex is. And that's not God's plan for you. God wants you to be able to move towards the purpose and plan that he has for your life and to thrive so that the chapter of your life post-divorce is better. That's what the word says. It says your latter days shall be greater than the former days. So that's what freedom through divorce is all about. It's personal development courses that you can take the information from a biblical perspective and experiencing God's freedom, his prosperity, his love, his joy, his peace, all of the fruits of the Spirit and the blessings that he sent his son to die for you to be able to have. Just because you've had to go through a divorce does not mean that you are negated from the promises that God has for you. So that's what freedom through divorce is. If you're interested in learning more, visit our school today.